The planet's sky burned a dull orange, dust and smoke swirling in chaotic patterns that reflected the destruction below. Streets that had once thrived with life were now crumbled paths lined with rubble, twisted metal, and abandoned vehicles. Among the ruins, humans were few. Aliens of various shapes and sizes moved warily, armed and watchful, their eyes scanning for any sign of weakness. In this chaos, Captain Elias Hart walked steadily, his white medical coat smeared with dirt and streaks of blood from the refugees he had been helping. Elias had been on dozens of missions across different star systems, but this one felt different. The suffering here was personal. He could feel it in the cries of the injured and the hollow stares of children who had seen too much death. His hands, steady and skilled from years of practice, were always ready to clean wounds, stop bleeding, and offer comfort in a way that transcended language. He had just finished tending to a group of children when a sudden commotion caught his attention. Shadows moved quickly between the ruins, and a figure fell into his line of sight. She was humanoid, tall and graceful, with hair the color of shimmering silver and skin pale yet radiant under the dull orange light. Her cloak, once magnificent with golden embroidery, was now torn and soaked in blood. She moved with an elegance that made even Elias pause, a quiet power radiating from her despite her injuries. Instinct took over before his mind could question it. Elias ran to her, kneeling beside her with the efficiency of someone who had faced death countless times. He could feel the alien soldiers closing in, their weapons raised, but he did not hesitate. Carefully, he rolled her onto her back and examined her injuries. Deep gashes along her arms, a punctured shoulder, and a faint trickle of blood from her temple. Each wound was dangerous, but Elias's experience allowed him to act quickly. "Stay still," he said, his voice calm, a sharp contrast to the chaos around them. He tore a strip from his coat, pressing it to her shoulder wound to stop the bleeding. The woman groaned softly, her eyes fluttering open for a brief moment. Her gaze was sharp and intelligent, piercing even in her weakened state. You're touching me." For a brief second, the words seemed impossible. He had faced aliens of all kinds, encountered monarchs, generals, and warlords, but nothing prepared him for this.
A queen, and yet her presence was undeniable.
There was an aura about her, a quiet authority that demanded recognition, even in her weakened state. I'm just trying to help," he replied, keeping his tone steady. "Wounds need care. Titles don't change that." The soldiers surrounding them shifted uneasily, glancing at each other. None of them expected a human to intervene so boldly. Many species considered humans fragile, weak, or unimportant. Elias knew this perception well, and he used it to his advantage. With a calmness that seemed almost unnatural to them, he began cleaning her wounds with precise motions, his hands moving over the injuries with care and confidence. As he worked, the Queen's eyes followed his every movement. Despite her pain, a small smile formed on her lips. Most would run," she murmured. "Or cower." Elias didn't look up. "I've never run from someone who needed help," he said simply. "I can fight if I have to, but healing is the first priority." The aliens around them seemed to hesitate, unsure how to react to this human's audacity. He was small compared to them, unarmed, yet his presence carried a weight that even they could sense. The Queen's status alone should have made him a target, but she was alive because he acted without fear. Minutes passed, like hours. Elias worked methodically, using whatever materials he could find. Strips of cloth became bandages. Water from broken pipes was sterilized with quick chemical treatments from his kit. Slowly, the Queen's breathing became steadier, and the worst of her bleeding stopped. "You are
"Unusual," she said, her voice still weak but gaining strength. "No one in the galaxy would dare touch me without fear. And yet, here you are, human, treating me as if I were any other being."
Elias finally looked at her fully, taking in her regal features, the faint shimmer of her hair, and the undeniable strength in her eyes. "I don't see the galaxy's politics," he said. "I see someone who needs help. That's all that matters." The Queen studied him carefully, her gaze softening slightly. "And yet what matters to you could change everything for the galaxy." A human, unafraid, acting with purpose, untainted by ambition. "You might be the exception we didn't anticipate." Before Elias could respond, a loud crash echoed through the ruins. Alien soldiers, alerted by the Queen's presence, were moving in to capture her. Elias's mind raced. He had helped countless injured before. But this was different. This was not just about saving one life. It could determine the future of entire star systems. "Hold on," he said, gently lifting her to her feet. She stumbled against him, weak but trusting. He held her firmly, supporting her weight as they navigated the ruined streets. Every corner presented danger, every shadow a potential ambush. Yet Elias's instincts, honed over decades, guided him. He dodged falling debris, ducked under swinging metal beams, and used the chaos of the destroyed city to stay ahead of their pursuers. Despite her condition, the Queen began to reveal glimpses of her own power. Small gravitational pulses shifted debris out of their path, and her awareness of enemy movements seemed almost prescient. But she was still too weak to fully defend herself, and Elias knew it. "Your power is incredible," he said quietly as they paused behind a broken wall. "But right now, my hands and my mind are what keep us alive." The Queen smiled faintly. "You truly are human. No one thinks like this." For hours they moved through the city, avoiding patrols and finding safe spots where Elias could tend to her wounds again. Hunger and exhaustion weighed heavily on them, but neither allowed despair to take hold. Elias kept talking, mostly to maintain focus, explaining the simplest strategies to stay hidden and observing enemy patterns. By nightfall, they reached a partially collapsed building, offering temporary shelter. Elias helped her sit against a wall, using a piece of his coat as a pillow. The Queen rested her head on his shoulder briefly, and for a moment, the chaos of the world seemed distant. "You could have left me," she whispered. "I could have," Elias admitted, "but I didn't." "It's not about who you are. It's about what's right."
The Queen studied him, her expression one of awe and curiosity. "Humans, you are remarkable."
Weak, fragile, and yet strong in ways the galaxy has forgotten. Perhaps the galaxy will remember you now. Elias didn't respond. He simply checked her bandages one more time, ensuring everything held. Outside, the wind howled through the broken city, carrying the cries of the injured and the sounds of distant battle. Yet inside that small shelter, two beings, one human, one queen, shared a moment of understanding. Strength was not always about power or rank. Sometimes it was about courage, compassion, and the simple act of choosing to help when others might hesitate. When dawn approached, the sky shifting from orange to pale pink, Elias helped the Queen to her feet. "We need to move," he said. "They will be back, and faster this time." She nodded, her strength slowly returning. "Lead the way, human. I trust you." And so together, they stepped into the ruins once more. Elias knew the path ahead would be dangerous. Entire fleets, powerful factions, and countless enemies would not easily forgive the Queen's survival. But he also knew that humanity, its ingenuity, courage, and determination, had a role that no alien could replace. As they disappeared into the twisting alleys of the destroyed city, the Queen whispered, almost to herself, "Perhaps the galaxy underestimated humans entirely." Elias smiled faintly. gripping her arm gently as he guided her forward. In the face of overwhelming odds, he felt a certainty that human bravery, compassion, and cleverness could turn the tide. And for the first time in his life, he understood that sometimes being human was not a weakness at all. It was the galaxy's greatest weapon. The city was a maze of broken streets and crumbled buildings, a skeleton of what had once been a thriving hub of trade and culture. Dust hung in the air, coating everything in a thin, gray layer, and the distant hum of alien engines reminded Elias' heart that danger was never far behind. He moved cautiously, supporting the Queen as they navigated the narrow alleys, stepping over debris and fallen signs. Every sound, every shadow, could be a threat. Despite her injuries, the Queen walked with grace, but her steps were unsteady. Elias stayed close, guiding her with a firm hand on her back. We can't afford a mistake now. She glanced at him, her silver hair catching the weak sunlight that filtered through the clouds of dust. I am not used to being vulnerable, she admitted. It is strange to be at the mercy of someone smaller than me. Elias smiled faintly. Everyone is vulnerable. That's why we survive, by helping each other, not by hiding behind titles. They had been moving for hours, careful to avoid the patrols of the alien forces searching for the Queen. Elias had noticed patterns in their movements, simple habits and predictable rotations. He whispered instructions to the Queen, pointing out safer paths and advising when to hide or move quickly. They expect fear, he said. Show them you are not afraid, and they hesitate. That hesitation gives us the edge. For a brief moment, the Queen's eyes widened. So, humans use courage as a weapon? In part, Elias said. In part we use our minds, observation, timing, and intuition. We survive because we notice what others overlook.
A sudden shout broke their conversation. A group of soldiers had discovered a nearby street corner and were moving directly toward them.
Elias's heart rate spiked, but he did not panic. Behind the wall, he instructed. They ducked behind a partially collapsed building. Elias assessed the situation quickly. The soldiers had more numbers, but they were focused, slow to adapt, and overly confident in their training. He whispered a plan. We can distract them. If we create chaos, we can slip through unnoticed. I need you to stay close and follow my lead. The Queen nodded, trusting him entirely. Elias grabbed a loose beam and kicked it, sending it crashing into a pile of rubble near the soldiers. Dust and small debris flew everywhere, blinding them for a moment. Seizing the chance, Elias guided the Queen down a narrow side street that led to a hidden network of alleys. Once they were out of immediate danger, they paused to catch their breath. The Queen looked at Elias with a mix of awe and curiosity. You move with such precision, such confidence. You are human, and yet far beyond what anyone would expect. Elias chuckled softly. Experience, observation, and a little stubbornness, that's all. Nothing extraordinary. The Queen shook her head. No. Extraordinary. The galaxy underestimates your species. You do not realize the potential that lies within you. As they moved deeper into the city, they came across a small group of refugees hiding in a partially destroyed building. Children clung to their parents, eyes wide with fear. Elias approached them gently, offering food and water he had packed in his kit. We are not here to harm you, he said. Follow me if you want safety, the Queen observed quietly, noting the human's ability to inspire trust even in the most desperate situations. It was a trait rare among the galaxy's powerful beings. Elias's calm authority and genuine care for others created a ripple effect, allowing those around him to act without fear. Hours passed, the streets grew darker, the air cooler, and the alien patrols seemed to increase in frequency. Elias and the Queen reached a partially intact building that offered a temporary hiding place. He helped her inside, using his coat as a makeshift pillow. She leaned against the wall, exhaustion evident in her posture. "You have saved me more than once," she said softly. "Perhaps this is why humans survive where others fail. You act without hesitation, without fear, without selfishness. You see what is important." Elias knelt beside her, checking her wounds again. "It is simple. Life is valuable. Titles, power, politics, they do not change that. Anyone in my position would do the same." The Queen's gaze softened. "Yet, few would have the courage. Most humans would hide, wait, or flee. You are different." Outside, the sound of engines grew louder. A new threat was approaching. A patrol, larger and more organized than before. Elias's mind raced. They could not fight openly. Their strength alone would not be enough. He needed a plan that relied on intelligence, strategy, and the subtle cunning that humans often used to survive in impossible situations. He whispered to the Queen, "We can use the environment. This city is a maze. If we move carefully, use obstacles and force them into narrow paths, we can slow them down. Then we escape through the underground tunnels."
The Queen nodded, slowly regaining her composure. "Lead the way, human."
"Show me how you turn weakness into strength." They moved silently, slipping between shadows, avoiding open spaces, and using collapsed buildings to block lines of sight. When the patrol finally arrived, they found empty streets, debris blocking paths, and no sign of the Queen. Confusion spread among the soldiers, and hesitation slowed their pursuit. Elias's strategy worked perfectly. Human ingenuity and careful planning had turned a dire situation into a manageable one. After a tense hour, they reached the entrance to the underground tunnels. Elias inspected it carefully. "These tunnels are old, abandoned, but they will lead us out of the city. Move carefully. We cannot afford a fall or a misstep." The Queen followed closely, her trust in him absolute. As they descended into the dark tunnels, Elias lit a small, portable light. The walls were damp and the air was heavy, but it was safe, at least for now. As they walked, the Queen finally spoke at length, her voice filled with curiosity and admiration. "I have seen many species across the galaxy, humans included. Most are weak, predictable, easily manipulated. But you? You are resourceful, fearless, and compassionate. I do not understand it fully, but I see its effects."
"You are remarkable." Elias smiled faintly.
"We survive. We adapt. That is all. It is not about being remarkable. It is about doing what is necessary." She studied him, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "Necessary, yes, and yet your actions may shape the galaxy. Your courage, your choices, they might change the course of history." Elias did not respond. He focused on the tunnel ahead, listening to distant echoes that might indicate approaching danger. His mind worked constantly, analyzing every sound, every vibration, every potential threat. Humans had survived countless challenges because of this ability to adapt, to think quickly, and to act decisively. He trusted it now, more than ever. Hours passed in silence, broken only by the occasional sound of distant engines or collapsing debris. Finally, they reached an exit leading to a forested area beyond the city's limits. Trees, strange yet beautiful, stretched toward the sky, their leaves shimmering faintly under the weak sunlight. Elias led the Queen into the cover of the forest, scanning constantly for threats. They paused in a small clearing. Elias allowed the Queen to rest, and she sat down, leaning against a tree.
"You are unlike any human I have ever seen," she said. "I expected fear, weakness, hesitation.
Instead, I find courage, intelligence, and calm.
You are extraordinary. Elias laughed softly. I am just human. That is all.
The queen shook her head. No, that is not all.
Humans, you have a strength that no other species possesses.
Your bravery is not born from power, but from heart. And that is rare in the galaxy. For the first time, Elias felt the weight of what she was saying. Humans were often underestimated, dismissed as insignificant by alien civilizations. Yet here he was, a single human, guiding and protecting the Queen of the Galaxy. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps humanity's greatest strength was not technology or numbers, but resilience, compassion, and courage. They rested briefly before moving again. The forest offered cover, but the threat was far from over. Alien patrols continued to search for the Queen, and the journey ahead would be long and dangerous. Elias knew they could not stop. Survival required constant vigilance, clever planning, and trust in each other's abilities. As they moved deeper into the forest, the Queen spoke again, her voice thoughtful. You have saved me, not because of orders, not because of reward, but because it was right. That is rare. Perhaps humans are the hope the galaxy has overlooked. Elias glanced at her. I do what I must. That is all anyone can do. But even as he spoke, he understood the truth of her words. Humans were underestimated, yes, but their courage and ingenuity could tip the scales in ways no alien race had imagined. And now, with the Queen of the Galaxy depending on him, Elias knew that the survival of more than just themselves might rest on human hands. The forest stretched endlessly before them, shadows lengthening as the sun sank lower. Each step forward was careful, deliberate, and cautious. Yet Elias felt a quiet confidence. They had survived city patrols, chaos, and injury. With careful planning, courage, and human ingenuity, they could survive anything. And so, together, the human medic and the Queen of the Galaxy moved deeper into the unknown, each step a testament to the strength of human spirit and the beginning of a journey that could change the galaxy forever. The forest stretched endlessly, its thick trees forming a dense canopy that filtered the sunlight into faint beams. Elias' heart moved cautiously, supporting the Queen as they navigated uneven terrain. Each step was deliberate. Every sound, every rustle could signal danger. The air was heavy with moisture, carrying the scent of moss and wildflowers, a stark contrast to the burning city they had escaped.
Do humans always act like this? The Queen asked quietly, her voice still weak but steady.
I have seen many species. Most fight or flee. You think, plan, and act without hesitation. You do not panic.
Elias glanced at her. We survive by noticing what others overlook. Panic doesn't help.
Observation and action do. That's all. She studied him, her silver eyes reflecting the dappled sunlight.
I underestimated you. Underestimated your kind.
Perhaps the galaxy has made a grave mistake in dismissing humans as weak. Elias shook his head, helping her over a fallen log.
We aren't weak. We just do what's needed.
That's it. They moved for hours, careful to avoid open spaces and sounds that might alert any pursuing forces.
The Queen, though recovering slowly, still struggled with even minor exertion. Elias adjusted his pace constantly, providing support and encouragement. At one point, they came across a shallow stream, its water clear and cool. Elias helped her wash the grime and dried blood from her face and arms. Such small acts, humans notice them, she said softly. Most of the galaxy ignores what is not grand.
But you see the details. You care about what others consider unimportant.
Elias smiled faintly. It's the small things that matter. Healing a wound, offering water, guiding someone through danger. Those things can save lives when the world is falling apart. The Queen's expression softened, admiration growing. Perhaps that is why you survive where others do not. You act without fear, with clarity.
You are exceptional. Elias shook his head again, refusing the compliment.
I am just human, that's all. Hours passed, and the forest began to thin.
Ahead, they spotted the faint glow of a settlement, a rebel outpost hidden deep among the trees. Elias guided the queen carefully toward it, remaining vigilant. As they approached, sentries noticed their arrival. Elias raised a hand in greeting, showing that they meant no harm. The guards, though initially tense, quickly recognized the queen and stepped aside, their expressions a mix of awe and relief. Inside the outpost, the queen was led to a secure chamber while Elias was directed to a supply room to rest and prepare additional medical supplies. Despite the brief respite, Elias knew the danger was far from over. Enemy forces would not give up their pursuit easily, and the queen's recovery was only the beginning of their struggle. Later, in the secure chamber, the queen finally allowed herself to speak openly. "You have saved me," repeatedly. Not with weapons, not with fleets, but with your mind, your courage, and your hands.
I have underestimated humans for too long. Perhaps.
The galaxy has as well.
Elias worked quietly, checking her wounds again. You were in danger.
I couldn't let that happen. It's not about species or titles.
It's about what is right. The queen studied him carefully, and yet,
what you do may shape the galaxy. One human, acting without fear, with clarity and purpose, may accomplish what entire fleets could not. That is remarkable. Elias paused, considering her words. I don't see it that way.
I do what must be done. If that helps the galaxy, that is a byproduct, not the goal.
despite her weakness, the queen began demonstrating subtle signs of her power, small ripples in the air. Faint gravitational shifts that moved objects without touching them indicated her abilities were returning. Yet she remained vulnerable, reliant on Elias's guidance and support. You see strength differently than the galaxy does, she observed. They rely on size, numbers, or technology. Humans,
You rely on clarity, adaptability, and courage.
perhaps that is why you are underestimated. Elias nodded, organizing supplies for the journey ahead. We adapt. We survive. That's all. The queen leaned back, her expression thoughtful.
Adaptation, yes.
Observation, timing, intuition. Humans have survived countless threats because of these qualities. Yet you do not boast. You do not seek recognition. You simply act. Elias looked at her quietly. Recognition does not matter. Survival and helping others do.
That's enough, by reason.
In the coming days, the queen's recovery progressed steadily. She was able to stand without assistance and move short distances. Elias taught her simple techniques to stabilize her energy and manage pain. During this time, they discussed the larger threat, the alien factions vying for control of the galaxy. The queen explained the political stakes, the alliances and betrayals that had led to her injury, and the long-term consequences of her capture. The galaxy is fragile, she said.
One misstep could plunge entire systems into chaos. And yet,
Humans, dismissed and underestimated, may hold the key to survival. Elias considered her words carefully. Perhaps.
but humans alone cannot win this. We need allies, strategy, and careful planning.
The queen smiled faintly. Yes, and yet, even with all our technology and fleets, humans may still have the edge.
You do not fear, you do not hesitate, you do not follow convention blindly. That is something rare. In the quiet moments, Elias reflected on their journey. He had faced countless dangers before, but guiding the queen through enemy territory had been unlike anything he had experienced. Her trust in him, despite her status, was both humbling and inspiring. He realized that his humanity, Compassion, courage, and ingenuity was the reason they had survived. One evening, as the sun set beyond the treetops, the Queen spoke again. The galaxy watches for power, for strength, for domination. Yet you wield a different kind of strength, small, quiet, but decisive. Perhaps
Humanity will be the force the galaxy overlooked for too long. Elias shook his head. I do what must be done.
that's all. If that inspires others, fine. If not,
It doesn't change the work. She studied him, her gaze intense. You do not realize your potential.
humans have been underestimated for centuries. Yet,
I see now.
your courage, your clarity, your ability to act where others fail, it is extraordinary. Perhaps humans are not just survivors.
Perhaps you are changers of worlds.
The following morning, Elias and the Queen began preparing for their next move. The rebel outpost provided them with shelter, food, and resources, but they could not remain in one place. The alien factions were relentless, and the Queen's safety depended on constant movement, careful planning, and the trust they had built together. Elias outlined a strategy, using his knowledge of terrain, timing, and enemy behavior. We move at night, he explained. We avoid open areas. We create distractions when needed. We travel quickly and quietly.
We use every advantage the environment offers. The Queen listened, absorbing each detail.
You see possibilities where others see obstacles. That is human. That is why I trust you. As night fell, they prepared to depart. The Queen's recovery had progressed enough for her to move without assistance, though Elias remained close, guiding and supporting her when necessary. They slipped through the forest, shadows among shadows, moving toward the next phase of their journey. Along the way, they encountered scattered groups of refugees and displaced beings. Elias offered assistance, sharing knowledge of first aid, water purification, and safe passage. The Queen observed quietly, noting how humans could inspire trust and cooperation without force or intimidation. You do more than fight, she remarked. You heal. You lead. You survive, and others follow willingly. That is remarkable. Elias smiled.
It's simple. People survive when someone shows them the way.
If I can help, I do. That's all. Hours later, they reached a vantage point overlooking a valley, a hidden corridor leading toward a safer sector of the forest. Elias paused, scanning the area for patrols and possible threats. This path is clear for now, he said. We move carefully and we stay alert. The journey is far from over, but we are making progress. The Queen nodded, her gaze distant but determined. I see now. Humans are more than their numbers or their technology. Your courage, your adaptability, your humanity is a force the galaxy cannot ignore. Perhaps it is the force that will change everything. Elias glanced at her, offering a small, confident smile. We survive. That's what humans do. As they moved forward into the unknown, Elias felt a quiet certainty. The Queen of the Galaxy had witnessed human courage and ingenuity firsthand. Together, they would face unimaginable challenges, but with trust, strategy, and determination, they could endure. And perhaps, through their actions, humans would finally claim the recognition they had long been denied. The forest around them grew darker, the stars beginning to twinkle above, but Elias felt a strength within himself that went beyond fear or exhaustion. He was human, yes, but his heart, mind, and spirit were weapons in their own right, and with the Queen relying on him, he knew that humanity's potential had only begun to reveal itself. The night was quiet, but it was filled with possibilities. And for Elias' heart, every step forward was a step toward changing the galaxy, one careful, courageous, and human act at a time. The stars stretched endlessly above them, glittering like scattered jewels in the dark void of space. Elias Hart stood aboard a small, advanced shuttle, his hands steady on the controls, eyes fixed on the approaching fleet. Before them lay the heart of the enemy's forces, a massive assembly of alien ships, bristling with weapons and shields, their size and numbers intimidating even to seasoned veterans. Yet Elias did not flinch. Every calculation, every strategy he had learned, every human instinct honed by countless dangers, guided his mind. Beside him, the Queen of the Galaxy watched silently. Her strength had returned almost fully, though she remained dependent on Elias's guidance and foresight. "Do you truly believe a single human can affect the outcome of this?" she asked, her voice calm but tinged with curiosity. Elias glanced at her, a small, confident smile on his lips. "Not a single human," he said. "A human who observes, adapts, and acts with clarity can change everything."
Watch! The fleet ahead bristled with confidence, convinced that the Queen's forces would be no match.
They had underestimated humans before. That mistake would cost them. Elias initiated the shuttle's approach, weaving through asteroids and debris fields that dotted the space above the enemy's position. The fleet fired, expecting him to falter or retreat, but Elias's timing and observation allowed the shuttle to dodge each attack. His hands moved instinctively, calculating angles, momentum, and speed. Every motion was precise, every decision deliberate.
The Queen observed, astonished. "You move with
"Perfection," she whispered. "I have never seen anyone maneuver so calmly under pressure."
Elias shrugged. Experience. Observation.
Intuition. That's all humans need to survive.
They reached a vantage point above the enemy fleet. Elias scanned their formations, noting patterns, weak points, and predictable maneuvers.
He turned to the Queen. "They rely on size, not strategy."
Large fleets are slow to adapt. We exploit that.
The Queen nodded, her eyes narrowing. "Then we fight smart, not brute. I see now why humans are exceptional." Elias activated the shuttle's comms, transmitting a coded signal to the Queen's hidden allies. The rebel fleet, smaller but agile, responded immediately. Following Elias's precise instructions, they positioned themselves to create a series of feints and diversions. Explosions erupted in calculated locations, drawing parts of the enemy fleet away from critical points. "Perfect," the Queen murmured. "You turn chaos into order." Elias's hands moved over the controls, adjusting positions, timing attacks, and coordinating movements. The enemy fleet reacted as expected, following their instincts, and every action they took played into his plan. He smiled faintly, seeing the human advantage unfold. Small squads of rebel ships launched attacks on vulnerable enemy vessels, then retreated into asteroid clusters. Larger ships were lured into traps where concentrated fire disabled their shields. Every strike was precise, every maneuver deliberate. The alien commanders began to panic, realizing their vast numbers were being undone by strategy rather than brute force. The Queen's fleet observed in awe. She had seen civilizations crumble under her enemy's assault before, yet never with such subtlety and efficiency. Elias Hart, a human, had orchestrated a ballet of strategy that shifted the battlefield in their favor. One of the enemy flagships attempted to flank them, hoping to cut off the rebel forces. Elias anticipated it instantly, redirecting smaller ships to intercept while using gravitational anomalies from nearby asteroids to create obstacles. The flagship's massive weapons fired, but the debris deflected several shots, and the coordinated rebels struck at the weak points, disabling the vessel. The Queen's voice rose with excitement.
By the stars, human, your mind is extraordinary.
"You see possibilities that others cannot." Elias nodded, remaining focused. "It's not about brilliance. It's about observation and action. The galaxy forgets that humans survive by adapting faster than anyone else. This is just instinct. Hours passed in tense combat. The enemy fleet, once confident, began to retreat. Ships that had relied on size and technology found themselves outmaneuvered by strategy, cunning, and the unpredictability of human thinking. Rebel pilots shouted with exhilaration, their morale soaring as they witnessed the humans' ingenuity turn the tide. From her command ship, the Queen observed the battlefield, finally understanding the unique qualities humans possessed. Elias's courage, clarity, and ability to act decisively in moments of extreme danger contrasted sharply with alien reliance on hierarchy and brute force. Humans were underestimated at every turn, yet they consistently found ways to succeed. As the enemy flagship's retreat became chaotic, Elias signaled the final maneuver. Using the gravitational fields of nearby asteroids, he created a trap for the remaining vessels. Enemy ships collided, weapons misfired, and chaos turned fully against them. Rebel forces moved in for the finishing strike, guided by Elias's calculated commands. The Queen's voice was steady but full of awe. "You are not just a human. You are the turning point of this battle. The galaxy will remember this day." Elias responded quietly. "We did what was necessary. That is all." Despite his modesty, the results were undeniable. The enemy fleet, powerful and vast, had been broken. The Queen's forces had secured a decisive victory, not through sheer numbers or firepower, but through intelligence, strategy, and courage, the hallmarks of humanity. After the battle, the Queen summoned Elias to her flagship. The crew watched in silence as she approached him, her presence radiant and commanding even after the victory. "Human," she said, her voice calm but filled with respect. "You have shown me the true potential of your kind. You fought not with strength, not with numbers, but with clarity, courage, and heart. You have turned what seemed impossible into triumph." Elias looked at her, tired but resolute. "I did what had to be done. That's all any human could do." She smiled, a faint glow of approval in her eyes. "Now, what you did goes beyond duty. You have proven that humans can shape the fate of the galaxy. That is not common."
That is remarkable. In the days following the battle, the Queen made her victory speech to the galaxy.
She acknowledged the bravery and ingenuity of humans, highlighting Elias' heart as a symbol of what their species could achieve. His actions inspired planets and civilizations that had long dismissed humanity, altering perceptions across star systems. Elias remained quiet, his work continuing behind the scenes. He helped repair ships, treat the wounded, and coordinate resources for the next phase of rebuilding. Yet everywhere he went, whispers followed, of a human who had changed the course of a war, who had guided the Queen to victory with nothing but courage, intelligence, and steadfast morality. One evening, on the deck of the Queen's flagship, she approached Elias as he observed the galaxy below.
"You saved me," she said softly. "And through that, you saved countless others. I owe you more than the galaxy can repay."
Elias shook his head. "I owe no one. I did what had to be done."
The Queen studied him carefully. "Micaiah."
Humans do not always see the power they hold. You believe you act simply, but your actions ripple across worlds.
You remind the galaxy that courage, intelligence, and heart are more powerful than armies.
If my actions inspire others, fine. But it is not about recognition. It is about doing what is right."
She reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Then know this, human. I will not forget. The galaxy will not forget."
You have shown that humans are not to be underestimated, that your species possesses a strength beyond measure.
And that is the beginning.
As they looked out at the stars together, Elias felt a quiet satisfaction.
Humanity had always been underestimated, dismissed, or ignored. Yet here, In the vast reaches of space, his species had proven that courage, intelligence, and compassion could rival any fleet, any technology, and any empire. The galaxy was vast, filled with dangers and challenges yet to come, but Elias knew that humans, with their ingenuity and heart, could face them all. And for the first time he realized that being human was not a limitation. It was a force the galaxy had overlooked for far too long. The Queen looked at him, her expression one of awe and respect. "Do you realize, human, what you have done? You have not only saved me, but you have changed the course of the galaxy." Elias chuckled softly, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "I did what I had to do, that's all." And in that moment, as the stars stretched endlessly around them, it was clear humanity had arrived in the galaxy not as a minor player, but as a species capable of shaping its destiny. With courage, heart, and ingenuity, humans had proven that even the smallest beings could leave the largest mark. The Queen smiled, a faint warmth in her gaze. "I now understand. Humans are extraordinary. And thanks to you, Elias Hart, the galaxy will never forget it." Elias nodded, quietly proud, not for himself, but for what his species had shown. They were small, fragile, and underestimated, but their courage, intelligence, and heart made them a force unlike any the galaxy had ever known. And with that, the galaxy entered a new age, guided by a queen who had seen the truth and a human who had quietly, resolutely changed everything.